Great. I was not recording the webinar. Now I am. So, because this webinar, of course, will be streamed, will be available on YouTube. So if somebody wants to listen again to the webinar, maybe you lost something, you had to go away, will be available on YouTube. Yeah, I've shut down the noise suppression because I was not sure that it was okay. It's better or is it worse? Worse, so I'll leave it on. Perfect. Perfect. Hopefully it will work without problems. So it's 5 minutes has passed. We are 21. We can try to begin. Let me first share my screen so I can show you. Share screen. So I'm sharing that. Here is the session I have, and I don't know if it will work. So let me share the computer sound. And let me hear if it works. Okay, I can hear that. Can you hear the sound? Really? We got it right the first time. Can't believe that. Is the level right? Let me know if it's too loud or too quiet. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. You can see from the meters that we have quite a bit of hiss going on because, of course, I have prepared a session like we were recording onto tape. So it's like we were, what we are simulating now is that we are in the room with the drummer and we are recording from our mixer straight into the tape, which is the last plugin in the chain, because we are going to record onto the tape on every single track. This is the first step. Then if the computer power allow us, we will continue mixing using this setup. Otherwise, we will freeze tracks and go on like they were recording onto tape. So the first thing I'm gonna do is to create the sound, because when you were recording onto tape, you didn't have the chance to record the sound like it was dry and then mix it at a later point. We had to produce the sound from the beginning, so you had to know the sound you had in mind, because you have limited ability to modify that later. And you had to manage the hiss. So you wanted the sound to be loud and compressed and ready, almost ready from the beginning. So we're going to use the same approach, and I'm going to put my headphones on. So I have put on every channel of our virtual tape machine, I have put an instance of HoRNetSW34EQ MK2, which is an emulation of a real hardware console. It's a Sound Workshop Series 34, which is designed by ex-API engineers, so it has that kind of sound. And it's a very nice desk with a very nice EQ for general sound shaping. That's what we are going to do. We are not to do any clinical mixing. So we want to produce want to have the general idea of the sound before going to tape. So that's what we're going to do now. Of course, if you have a question or anything while I go on, just type that, and of course I try to answer. So the first thing, I'm going to bypass all the tape instances because I want to add them later. So I will bypass everything and produce the sound like I was not going to tape. So this is the kick. Okay, let me take section. First thing I'm gonna do is to automatically set the input level. We are working like the old analog way, so we could, of course, just use the input knob to set the gain correctly. But I can do it automatically with this plugin, and I get the advantage of having auto gain while having analog workflow. So I'll press the auto input level. So Johnny asked which plugin we are using. I am, for the beginning, for this fake tape recording, I am using SW34EQ on every channel of the drums, because I'm pretending I was recording these drums on this desk. And then I am using MultiComp Plus to compress the sound before going to tape. Then I'm using tape to simulate our tape machine, and I don't know which one I will choose. I will decide later. So for the beginning, for the first step, what I'm going to do is to use the equalizer and the compressor. The compressor just to adjust the sound. So acoustic, you say you're hearing clicks and pops. When I speak without the music, you can hear that. Even if I don't speak, because does anybody else have the same issue? Because I don't have, of course, I don't have any setting on Zoom. So okay, so it's probably a connection issue. Try to disconnect and get back and reconnect. Maybe it will work. I don't know. Okay, so let's get back to business. We are using the auto gain for from the SW34EQ MK2 to auto set the input level correctly. So we get a nice correct level on the input here. As you can see, it automatically adjusts itself, so it peaks at the right level. Then, since here we are working with, of course, you see that the output is going into negative, the same level, the same value as the input, because we have the link output level button pressed. This is useful because it keeps your loudness equal, so you don't have to worry about that at a later point. But I don't know if I want this enabled, because we are simulating the analog workflow. And if I leave this on, what happens is that on the next plugin, I will need to set the input gain once again. So I will turn this off and set this to 0. So it will be, of course, louder, but we have the benefit of not having to adjust the input level on the next plugin, because it's already okay since we adjusted it from these inputs. So Klaus, you asked if this is a new plugin. No, it's a plugin we have been we are having in the catalog for a while, and as I told you, it's an emulation from a console, from a real console. This is channel 21 of that console. I don't know if it's in use anymore. It was here in a studio here nearby, but it's nice sounding EQ. So I'll let you hear that. So the first thing, I'm making some kind of sound. So the equalizer here works in the old-fashioned way, but if I want to see the numbers, I just press readout, and I have all the numbers showing what I'm doing. So I pretend I want to do it the old way. So just let me give some lows to the kick. Then I will have probably something on the high, about here. And then remove some of the body from the kick. Let me check where I want to remove the body. Probably from here. Okay, so this is a more polished sound. Consider that in this recording, we only used the kick, the mic inside the kick. So we don't have that much body, a lot of bitter sound. So maybe I can use a little bit higher frequency here. Okay, much better. So to hear the difference, I can disable the EQ. Okay, that's great. That's great. Then we move on to the compressor. So I will. Okay, we have already a compressor working. This is something I don't want. I want to have an 1176 style compression on the kick. So I'm not using the input and output from this plugin because I've already adjusted the input on the previous plugin. So what I'm going to do is to use the auto threshold to compress 60 dB, because it's not something I want to have an idea of the sound. I don't want it to be drastical. So if I disable the effects, this is the difference. So except apart from the loudness difference, it's already a better sounding kick. So nothing more to do over here. I think this is fine. What do you think about it? Do you agree with that? Then I will move onto the snare sound that we got. Our microphone on the above the snare. It's a 57, if I'm not mistaken. These are recordings from some years ago, so forgive me if I don't remember what I used. I'll set the auto input level, disable the link. So we got the gain on the input. I will apply a low cut to remove the rumble. This desk here has a fixed low cut frequency of 40 Hertz, 39 to be precise. But we have added this knob to to be able to tweak that, but I'm not going to use it. I want to stick with the original workflow. So I'm not going to use it. I'm gonna give some breath to the high frequency. So something above here. Then some body to the snare. Then you hear it has a peculiar note that I want to, okay, let me disable this compressor because it's getting hard to make the sound correct with the compressor working. No, everything is from a real drummer recorded in a bad room. So it's sounding very dry and recorded with this is a Shure SM57 on the top and another one on the bottom that will work later. So let me make the correct sound. I was saying the snare has a peculiar note that we want to keep, so we will find it now with a sweep. Okay, so now we move on to the compressor. I want an FAT compressor here too. We will use a faster attack than the kick because we want to to squash the transient on the snare. And of course, I'm compressing 60 dB here too, just to play safe. I have time to increase that later during mixing. So when I put kick and snare together, it's already a nice sounding combo, in my opinion. Okay, don't worry about the clipping on the channels because we are, of course, full digital over here, so we don't have issues with the clipping. I don't care about that at this time. Then later, I will use the auto gain on tape to adjust the output from the compressor. So I can move now on to the bottom snare. On the bottom snare, I want to get the crack from the snare. So first thing, of course, I want to auto gain that. Enable the low cut. And then get the crack out. Okay, let me remove some of the mud area. Maybe it's better with this other one, which has more control around the correct frequencies. Okay, so we got the crack without the muddiness. We have 3 different cues on this equalizer. One is very wide. Then we have a medium one and a tight one, which is not tight at all because we are talking about a Q of 2, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a very gentle EQ in general. Okay, just let me go into the compressor. And since we want to squash the crack sound, we are going to use an FAT here too. Very short attack, very short release, so we get more crack from the bottom snare mic. Got the two together. So, of course, this is not the right level, but it should be around here. So it's nice sounding. It's definitely nice sounding now. So now we go onto the hi-hat, because I don't want to do that much to the hi-hat. I'm not going to compress it at all. So I will remove the compressor from here, because if I compress the hi-hat, I'm going to bring a lot of noise from the snare, and I don't want to do that in recording. Maybe I'll compress that later. Do you oversample normally, Johnny? Well, if you have enough CPU power, you have to oversample. It's better to oversample, especially with fast compressor like the FAT I'm using now. I'm not going to use oversample here because while I'm recording the webinar, streaming the webinar, doing the mixing, and I am afraid the computer will not be able to cope with that. So I'm not oversampling for this reason, but if you can, oversample always, because with fast compressor and saturation and all the stuff, you are introducing aliasing, so it's better to compress. To oversample. So this is the hi-hats. I'm going to isolate that and search a part where the hi-hats actually plays. Okay, so if I enable the auto input, you see, you hear a lot of snare. So if I was going to compress this sound now, I was going to get a lot of the snare in. So I leave that later at a later point. I will apply my low cuts and give some air to the sound. I'm going for very high frequency because it's a little bit dull. Then I remove the mud area from this hat because it seems that it has a lot of that. Around here. I want the sound of the hat, not the body of the snare. Okay, so here we are. Okay. Then I will move on to the tom floor. I don't know if the tom plays. Yes, it plays. The tom here. Okay, so just let me bypass the compressor so I can tweak it correctly. Enable the auto input. So it rises the level correctly. Apply my low cuts. Okay, so I don't think it plays anymore. Let's go back and add some body around here. Even more, I can feel it. Okay. Okay. It's here. Okay, it's here. So I need to bring the beta back on. Okay, great. Let me remove some of the central area around here. Okay, great. Great, great. I like that. Then I'm going to compress that. I'm going to use a console 4K because it tightens up the sound of the tom. And I'm going to use a slower attack around 10 milliseconds. To let the auto threshold do its magic. Okay, and we're done. I find the auto threshold very handy because it allows me to work much faster than otherwise without that tweaking the threshold by hand. So I find it's a handy feature. Then we'll work with the floor tom, bypass the compressor. We do a quite similar equalization. So auto input level. So this time I'm going to lower frequency here. Okay. Now the problem is that these spills on the toms, on the floor tom and the tom microphone are a little bit too much, but we will handle that later with a gate. So no worries. So now back some of the, yes, it's the doom drum. You can also hear the click if you pay attention. That's into the tom microphone. This drummer had the click very high in his headphones. Okay, here we are. Perfect. So now let's go onto the compressor. We do the same with the console 4K model. Ten milliseconds. Here we are. So with the two together, it's like that. Not bad, but maybe I will run it a little bit more. Now we have the spill from the snare. So we will need to manage that in some way. We'll do that later. Now, if I bring everything back into the mix, we get something like this. Now we have to take care of the overheads that, together with the room mic, will create the overall impression of the sound. I will do that manually in one mic, then I will use the advantage of having a digital audio workstation and will copy the plugins onto its twin track, so we will have the same settings. And in a real desk, you'll have to tweak the knobs at the same time on both channels to make them equal. And this had some kind of advantages because you never do exactly the same settings, and you get a little bit wider stereo image. But it's so boring to do that with a mouse that I will not do that. Okay. So also input level. While it adjusts the gain, I adjust the equalizer. So give it air. Okay, there is the compressor working against me. Bypass that. So I'm going to remove mud from the middle area, from the mid-range. So I'm not going to do anything more here, so we copy the plugin to the other overhead track. Then I will apply some gentle compression using the same 4K model. 10 milliseconds attack time. Timp is a floor tom in Italian because it's called timpano. So it's the overhead above on the floor tom side. The other one is the overhead on the hi-hat side. So I will have a gentle compression 2:1 here. And less than 6 dB. I want to compress just 3 dB. Even less if I hear the sound is too compressed. Yeah, I can go even gentle with 2 dB compression. I don't want to lose, because if you compress the overhead too much, you're risking to lose the dynamics of the cymbals and squashing them together with the snare sound that coming from the overhead. So I don't want to compress them too much at this point, at least. So this is great. This is fine, I think. Let me check again. Sorry. No, it's a little bit too compressed. So it's better now. Okay, as you can see, when I press stop, the auto disables itself. This is a safety measure to avoid risking to ruin the mix, because of course you have left something auto on. So this is a safety measure, and I'm going to copy the settings on the other one, and then let's have a listen to both of them together. Let me spread them a little bit more. So something like that. So if I bring back the kick, the snare, the hi-hats, and the rest, sorry, let me lower the low volume, otherwise you can't hear me. This is our drum kit almost done. Now I have to make the sound of the room, and I'll do that while the rest is playing, because I want to get the overall feeling. So disable that, auto input. Bypass the compressor, low cut, bring out some of the mids from the room, around the 3K. Okay, I also want to get some of the lows out of that, like it was a full mix. So Johnny asked, would you have all the drums sent to a group and compress them all together? Yes, while I am simulating the mix phase of the analog way. Right now, I'm simulating the recording phase. So I'm doing the sound from every single spot, mic and the drum kit in general. Then I am going into tape. Then I'll take what I have from tape and do the mixing phase. So this is now like I was in the room with the drummer and recording everything, like I would do if I was during the 80s or the 70s, okay? During the 80s, because this console was not available in the 70s. So I'm in the 80s. So this is the EQ is done, and now I will compress everything using an FAT compressor as squashing everything really hard, because I want the room sound to come out. So I want to use it like it was a reverb mic. So I want to compress 10 dB or something. I'm really compressing it hard. I can't hear it, it's too low. So I will use the output gain to bring it back to some reasonable level. Give me a little bit more attack time. Definitely better. You can hear it's quiet, but this is the sound of the room, like it was a reverb. Reverberation from the real room. So, okay, we're done. Now it's time to bring everything to tape. Now, the simulation here is we are in the control room with the drummer playing. We made all the sound. So now we bring back the tape and we're going to record the sound of the drummer. So you can hear the ease, it's increased because we now have the tape active. I already put everything on group 1. So everything I change from this interface changes on all the other instances of tape. So I'm sure that I'm getting the sound of the same tape from everything. So the first thing I will do is to use the auto gain once again to set the correct level. This is a drum recording, so I want to be quite hot inside the tape. So I'll set +2 VU target level. So I'm hitting the tape with a hot level and getting the compression and a little bit of saturation from the tape. So let's see how it works. Turn on auto gain and press play. Sorry, I had to isolate the drums. So auto gain once again. Okay, I did a mistake because I want to start from the beginning because we have the sound from the tom that is playing only from the beginning. So let me press stop. Let's pretend we did the correct game staging. So Mario asks, why do you have as many tape instances as the tracks channel? Because I want to simulate the recording. So now I have a 24 tracks tape machine and I'm recording the drums on that tape machine. So I have one track of tape for every track that I am recording. So one instance for every track. And I'm going to disable the output compensation because with the output compensation enabled, I am also adjusting the hiss level and I don't want that. So with this disabled, I have the correct level. Now, this is a little bit boring. I have to go instance to instance to adjust the output level. I should have turned it off from the beginning. So, well, I forgot. So this is the price I have to pay. Because input and output are not linked together for obvious reasons, since every track is different. And of course, you have to handle every track in a different way regarding the input level. So almost done. Here we are. So the room mic is terrible because we got a very low level from the beginning. And this turns out to be a terrible choice because we are getting a lot of hiss from the room mic. So this is something that is not good at all, and we have to fix that. So what I'm going to do is to play the track and adjust the level for the room mic. This was tape distorting. Can you hear the tape distortion? Now we're going very hard into tape. We are slamming into red. Now manually I will adjust everything. Okay, so this is definitely a better level. We got a problem with gate staging from the first place, and this, it turns out, led us to have too much noise on the track. So we had to manually adjust it. So now it's time to listen to how the drums sound and choose which kind of tape machine we want. So my personal preference is machine here at 15 IPS. This one or this one, I don't know. I have to choose. This is a little bit more solid, and this is a little bit more stereo sounding, Wi-Fi sounding, sorry. Okay, I will choose this one. Okay, so here we are. We finished our recording simulation. So we are now in the studio. We have recorded the drums, and let's try to mix that. Okay, so we'll move on to the mixing phase. And for to make things easier, I will use the channel strip MK3, because we have the gate, we have the EQ, and we have the compressor in one single plugin. So I will put this thing on every track. You see, I am putting this on the snare bus because if I was mixing, I would have root snare up and snare down on a single snare track and mix that track. Okay, so I can just have one point where I tweak the snare sound, because the main sound, the main idea of the sound, it's already made before going to tape. Okay, so I just have to use one plugin in this case. One on the hi-hat, another one on the tom, another one on the float tom, and then a stereo one on the overheads. For the same reason, I have the general sound here, and I'm tweaking for mixing just the bass, and another one on the room. So the hiss level got a little bit higher, even more higher, and we're adding even more saturation to the old sound because we're adding another analog instance. Also, since this is a mixing phase, I will put a compressor here because I want to make parallel compression, and I'm going to put the HA2A on the bass, and I'm tweaking that later. And then I'll have something on the master bus, another instance of SW34EQ, and another instance of HA2A. So this is my mixing setup at the moment. So the first thing I'm going to do is to do the kick sound and use the auto input gain from the channel strip. So we got this correctly. Remember, we are coming from tape. We have recorded the drums on tape. We're coming from tape and mixing that on our desk. So I'm going to use an expander to act as a gate. Okay, around here, it's perfect. So we kind of need more body from the kick. So I'm going to use the low shelf. Here we are. Then I compress it even more. Okay, we are about. Okay, so this is right. So we are nicely peaking in a safe area. Compressor is not working, which is good. We're gonna use that later. Now we're gonna add a little bit of EQ. So we mix into that. He's a nice drummer, Johnny. He's a nice drummer with a very bad set, but he's good. He's a good drummer. So this is my go-to setting for mixing EQ. This is a personal preference, so it's not something that you have to strictly follow. I like to give a little bit more presence on the bass, on the master bass, and a little bit more body on the bottom. So the gain staging is correct, so I won't do anything that. And I'm going to work on the compressor, mixing on the compressor, working a little. Sorry, this is the output gain, my fault. Okay, we have to keep things easy. So let me hear the drums inside the compressor. I don't want to slam that too much. Okay, this is good. Okay, so now onto the snare. We do the same thing. First, we correctly set the balance between up and down snare. Okay, I like it like this. Then set the auto inputs, which is almost good. And then our expander to work as a gate. Okay, I want to only get the main hit from the spot mic on the snare, because those notes are going to be picked up by the room mics and the overheads. So this is going to only let pass the sound from the spot mic from the EV hits. Okay, then remove the rumble. There's a bit more air. And a little bit more body, and we're done. Okay. Compress it once again to have a nice snare. See, I'm moving very quick because it's already an hour, but I hope you get the point. So now, Then we add, let me add the overhead so I can do the correct balance. I'm not going to use the first dynamics module for the overheads because it's not needed. I think I have to remove something from the bottom. Then I'll give a little bit more shine. And there is an annoying frequency in the cymbals that I want to take care of. So a very tight tube. Let's search for the frequency. Should be on the lower highs. It's around here, it's around 4K. So let me remove that. Okay, this is nicer. And also there is something in the muddiness area that I want to take care of. Here. Much cleaner, definitely. Now with a gentle opto compressor, we give a little bit more compression, nothing more than this. There we go, the right output level, and let's do some mixing with the snare and kick. Okay, it's definitely too loud. The snare is definitely too loud, so we need to lower everything. Well, Mario says that the snare is too ringy. This is something that I wanted to emphasize during the recording phase because I think it's the peculiar sound of the snare, because this is a very small snare. And if I make it too woody, I tends to get lost in the mix. So I wanted to make it ringy and then compress it to make it, to give it presence and give it a more character. So we got these natural sounding drums that are pretty cool. Now I'm going to add the other elements and see if they need treatment or not. Okay, these definitely need to have some gates put on them. So let's solo the tom. Put the track at the beginning where the tom plays. Okay, so we got gates correctly. I don't want to use any EQ or compression in addition to the one we have already used, so I shut down the models. I do the same for the floor tom. Okay, expand the mode. Threshold around here. A little bit lower. Okay, the same goes for the floor tom. So if I bring everything back together, there's something weird going on. These are maybe too loud. Okay, I had the room mic too loud. That's the problem. So let's remove the room for the moment. I make correct gate staging. Then I'll only leave the equalizer because I don't want to mess with the compression, but I want to hear if I have to fix something in the room. A bit more shine, probably. Then there is some annoying frequency going on that I want to find out. It's too boxy. Around here, probably. And we have the same problem with the cymbals. It has a 4K that is too present. Okay, maybe it's better. Bring it back on the mix. Okay, now we make some parallel compression using the preset, all auto drum partner that sets everything in auto mode, and this plugin has auto makeup, auto gain compensation, auto pre-production with the target, auto input, auto output. So now everything is set to automatically compress 10 dBs with a ratio of 70% dry, 40% wet. So it should be like this. Okay, maybe we are losing the snare too much with this parallel compression thing. So I will reduce the wet level. Give it a little bit more snare. Reduce the room sound. work the correct gain stage here and the correct compression on the mix bus. And here we are. Well, we can go a little bit higher on the input of the compressor. And reduce accordingly the peak. Oh, sorry, this is the auto target. This is the one I have to use. We have just to barely make the needle move. Yes, Johnny, I am recording this webinar, so it will be available on YouTube, don't worry. And this is our drums, so let's listen to them, from the beginning. You get the vintage vibe. Everything is compressed. Everything is fully saturated because that's how you had to do it to keep the noise down and make everything to stay on the right spot, because you have to deal with the saturation, with the noise. So compression and the right gain staging plays a big role with analog emulation and in the old analog days. That's the reason why the drums sound so compressed in all the recording. So I haven't touched the hiss simulation for this reason, because I want to put myself in the same condition. Now I'm picking the master bus, but I just reduce the output gain and I'm done. Oh, I have the two linked, that's the reason why, sorry. Okay, just fix that. Or bring a little bit more output gain to get some saturation from the tubes of this thing. So here I am. Can clearly hear the compression that's going on. A little bit less. Okay, like this. And if I disable the parallel compressor, things get with less body. Listen to this. And if I enable it back, you have much more body from the kick and the snare. So this was an analog mixing way. We used a lot of plugin to get this sound. We use incremental compression. Maybe we use a little bit too much compression on the snare, probably. Let me fix that. So this is maybe better. And this is how you do that when you want to emulate the analog way of mixing, you have to pretend you were recording into tape using the equalizer and compression going into tape. Then you take stuff from tape and clean it up with another EQ, more precise, more that give you the option to clean it more. So you get the general sound going into tape. Then you take everything from tape and mix it with other tools, being very gently, because what you don't want to do is bring up the noise, and the overall noise floor, it's around negative 78 dB. So it's not that much, but it's not even that quiet. So this is something you always have to keep in mind. Not give too much gain, going with the right gain into tape, and then get the sound with a nice ratio between the noise and the level from the tape. If you don't compress into tape and don't use the tape compression characteristic, you are not going to get this, and you're going to get a lot of transients, but a lot of noise when you mix. That's the reason why we love tape on drums, because it makes this nice sound compressed effect, and with a pleasant saturation that we are so used to listen in the drums recording. So thank you very much for being here with me tonight, this evening. Here is evening, it's 20:20 p.m. So if you want to see this thing again, it will be available on YouTube probably tomorrow or the day after. I don't know, when I have to find the time to edit everything and put it online. And you will receive a 10% discount on the bundle, not the single plugins, because this webinar was about bundles. So you will receive a 10% discount on the overall bundle. It will come tomorrow in your email. So if you want to try out any of the plugin, we have demos. If you want to ask questions, feel free to write me. You can do that using our support forum on KVR, or by email. We have lots of ways, or writing on our social. So we don't have, we are perfectly reachable. So thank you very much, and have a nice rest of the day wherever you are. Goodbye, and see you next time, hopefully very soon. So goodbye, bye.